We're starting a little bit later. This was supposed to start at 7:35, so we'll hopefully still give the adequate 20 minutes for everyone. We have two candidates here for the Senate District 10, Nathan Westenberg and Suzanne Sakala. Got it right. So we've been butchering most of the last names here, so that's great. Only one can be selected when you go to the polls, encouraging everyone to vote on November 8th. And so the questions, there's a couple of them who've been submitted ahead of time. I've ended up having to reduce those because we're getting lots of questions from the audience. So the first question will go to Nathan, and I've mixed the order and we'll rotate candidates as well on the questions. So Nathan has the first question: share your personal background and experiences and why you're running for office. And by the way, we are being timed by April and Chris.
Okay.
So you'll see the timers.
And what's this question?
And the question is for 1 minute. Background and experiences and why you're running for office. And Nathan starts.
Can you, is this on? Okay, so my background and experience, I'm from Little Falls. I was born and raised in the district here. I am a wildlife biologist. I've worked for the state, the government before. I know how poorly the government runs, and we're not being represented, so we need representation. Over the last couple of years, I've been fighting back in my own community to show people, to be a voice for people, because I've seen things that are going on in our schools. I have 3 girls, they're 10, they're 11, well they're 10, 8, and 6, they're turning soon. And what's going on is disgusting. Things need to change. I'm running to be a voice for the people. I'm running on term limits, and I have been fighting, and I will continue to fight for your rights and your beliefs. They were even trying to, right now, silence me and not let me show you what's going on in America. But this is wrong. This is why I'm here. I'm not going to quit fighting for you.
Okay, Suzanne.
I grew up on a family farm in Morrison County, and I've lived in the country all my life. I live, work, and celebrate rural life. I love Minnesota and can't imagine living anywhere else. Those farm and family values established when I was young are the foundation of my life. I served the community as a nurse, as a youth employment director with the Community Action Program, small business owner, a United Church of Christ pastor, and a chaplain at St. Cloud Hospital. I've had the richest of life work serving the people of central Minnesota. I graduated from the United Theological Seminary of the Twin Cities, earning a Master's of Divinity degree, and I'm ordained with the United Church of Christ. My background isn't in politics. I look around and see the communities in rural Minnesota struggling. I'm running for Senate because I know that we can do better. A lack of opportunities, poor infrastructure, and high inflation are the things that we can address to make things work better for us. Accountability, hard work, and work until the job is done is what I suppose for us.
That's it, Suzanne. The next question is asking about your top 2 to 3 priorities. You have 1.5 minutes, and we will start with Suzanne.
I think my top 2 priorities are partisanship and spending the surplus. I think the gridlock has harmed us all, and we as taxpayers should be outraged with the performance of the legislature for 2021. The partisanship is divisive and has a harmful impact on all of us. We need to work together to support the people of Minnesota. I believe my work experience and moderate political perspective will work across the aisle to get the job done. My work ethic is the job isn't done until it's finished, and I will strive to continue that work ethic. As a political moderate, I believe I can accomplish that. The spending surplus can be returned to the public in a number of ways. First, I think a refund check to the taxpayers is a priority, possibly giving back to the middle and lower income individuals. Second, the legislation worked to assure that there was 400 million tax cuts in that package, and it didn't pass due to partisanship. I believe tax cuts, which would benefit everyone, are a major component, which would also help fund part of the school system. I think it's important for us to be looking at that. We can use that surplus to support the metro and the rural infrastructure. The need for affordable high-speed internet for outstate Minnesota areas is critical to the economy of our communities.
Thank you. And Nathan, top 2 or 3 priorities?
Oh, we definitely need to cut taxes and cut spending. We're taxing way too much and we waste too much money. We need to stop taxing Social Security. It's your money, you get to keep it. We're gonna stop doing that. All the surplus that we have right now, we need to give it back. We need to not spend that money, just give it back to taxpayers. If you pay taxes, let's give the surplus back. We are hurting right now because of how much money we don't have in inflation. You need to get that money back. You know, she talks about partisanship. The things that I've been doing for the last couple of years in my community have nothing to do with politics. I've been bringing the community together and working to fix our education and working on township issues and other issues that people brought to me in the community. Every 2 weeks I meet, I've got a group of people, and that's what we do. We work on issues that has nothing to do with politics. I'm gonna listen to you and I'm gonna do what's right. And if something's wrong, I'm gonna call it out. What's going on in our education system? We need to just have education about educating kids and not bringing in these social issues. With the COVID thing that just passed from the CDC, I don't know if anyone knows that they added the COVID shot to the schedule for kids. I'm not gonna allow your kids to get the COVID shot. That's not gonna happen. I'm a wildlife biologist, I understand the science, my wife's a doctor, I know all the COVID crap, and it's a bunch of garbage that needs to go away. Keep going. We need common sense in politics.
The next question was submitted to the Chamber of Commerce prior to tonight's forum. The city of Foley, the residents and the business owners have been forced to finance an additional $7 million in sewer infrastructure cost because the legislature last June or May did not pass the bonding bill, and which would have provided a grant to the city of Foley. So for the next 30 seconds, how will you help Foley obtain the needed funds and remove the significant financial burden from the citizens who will now have to pay for this? And we start with Nathan.
I will have to talk to the people in Foley about what's going on, city officials, to see how I can help you. I had someone contact me back here and they asked me to come to a meeting a month ago. I'm sorry I missed the email. My email list goes quick and things get pushed aside, and I don't know. I didn't mean to miss it. I will talk to you and you can let me know how I can help you. That's what I'm going to do. We can talk afterwards and I'll come to you and try to help you with what we need to get done.
Okay. And Susan.
Well, I think possibly one of the things that we could do is look at that surplus money. A lot of it was earmarked for infrastructure for smaller rural communities. I think possibly that would be a good use of that money, especially when we're talking $7 million for Foley. And then I think I agree that we don't all know all the issues that are going on for each community. So it really calls us all to sit down together and discuss it to look for a solution.
The next question impacts, or just recently in the last month came to light. The U.S. Attorney, Andrew Lugar, has now charged 50 persons connected with an organization called Feeding Our Future for stealing $250 million in COVID funds designed to feed hungry children, but spent instead on cars, jewelry, homes, property for personal use, making Minnesota the worst pandemic fraud in the United States, according to Lugar. 3 of those 50 have already pleaded guilty for fraud. So for the next minute, what can the Minnesota Department of Education and the State Attorney General do in the future to prevent this from happening? And Suzanne, it's to you.
Wow, 1 minute to solve world issues. I love it. I think the Department of Education, I don't know if any of you got to watch the debates yesterday, but one of the things that we talked about, or they talked about on there, was the Department of Education did recognize that there was some issues. Obviously, we do need to feed our children. 1 in 7 children in Minnesota have food insecurities. I think we probably, after this, need greater regulations with it, and that's one of the things everyone's talking about. And also, the Attorney General has talked about, and the reason why it moved as slow as it was because the FBI was involved in it. So I would have to study that more, but I think the wheels are turning for that. And I just think it cannot stop us from feeding this 1 out of 7 children that have food insecurities.
Okay, Nathan.
Oh, we need to start by firing the people who are involved, like our Democratic leaders. They knew this was happening and they didn't stop it. Walls, Ellison, Steve Simon, our auditor, Blaha, they all need to go. They knew this was happening, they didn't do it. With 2019, there's another $100 million fraud from daycare, and now it's happening again. They know what's going on, it's gotta stop. So that's what we need to do. We need to elect Republicans who are gonna have transparency and accountability, and we're gonna be auditing the system to make sure this doesn't happen. Yes, we have to feed kids, but you should have seen that none of this money was going to feed kids anywhere. So, and it just kept going on. We need change, and that's what needs to happen.
Thank you. The next question has to do with the surplus. Some of you, both of you might have mentioned it already. The Minnesota Management and Budget Office last February forecasted a 2023 surplus of over $9 billion. What are your thoughts on this surplus? For the next minute, should the funds remain within the state due to inflation concerns, or should they be spent? And then I'm going to combine it with a question from the audience. Would you support to change not taxing Social Security income? And we start with Nathan.
To save time, I already answered both those questions. We need to give the money back and not tax Social Security, not tax Social Security income.
Suzanne.
Well, I believe that I answered a lot of that with the spending surplus. There was so much in that bill for the surplus and so much partisanship that just prevented it from moving forward. And that's one of the things, I would love to find out if Foley would have had any money earmarked for their infrastructure for this. I really think that the high-speed internet, some of those things can really benefit from this. There's so many ways that getting back part of that surplus plus using it to move forward for a better future for us is what we need to use that surplus for. As far as taxing Social Security, I think a lot of people are talking about not taxing Social Security for anyone who's making under $200,000. So I think that's a fabulous idea. A lot of people move out of state because Social Security is taxed in Minnesota. We can do a lot to support our Minnesotans.
The next question also came from the audience. 15 seconds, so a short answer. Do you favor a unicameral legislature? And we start with Suzanne, which means one house instead of the dual houses that we now have.
You know, I actually don't know, but I'd really like to research that. I think that it would maybe benefit a lot of things and maybe cut down some of our taxing and our spending. But I would have to research that further, and I haven't even researched that at all.
Okay, Nathan.
No, having opposing viewpoints is good because both sides might have something that isn't correct, but we need to work together to get the job done, so no.
The next question also came from the audience. For 30 seconds, our libraries are valued by Minnesotans. Communities and counties support the libraries, providing buildings and services. However, the Minnesota legislature has not raised its support for libraries for 12 years. Will you support raising the library basic service funding? And we start with Nathan.
How long do I have?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Will I support libraries? I will support libraries. I don't know a lot about the funding that is going to libraries. I would have to do more research on that.
Okay. And Suzanne.
I think libraries are crucial to our society and our communities, and I love it when I see the people using the libraries from little tiny children to older people. I think that legislation is wrong not to support it as much as we can, and possibly we could use some of that surplus money to support that for our community. We are stronger when we work together.
And then another question. Many of our businesses are having worker shortages or difficulties in hiring employees. Even though Minnesota's labor force participation at 68% last year is the 6th highest in the nation. Foley High School exposes youth to various careers. For the next minute, what thoughts do you have to help employers with their labor force needs? And we start with Suzanne.
That is such an important question. I had an opportunity to work with the Chamber of Commerce in Brainerd, and a lot of us who were running for office were there. And one of the things that I didn't even realize was such an impactful thing was that a lot of people were applying for jobs and wanted to fill the positions, but the money that they were able to receive was not adequate for them to pay for housing and for their livelihood. So if they did take the job, they couldn't pay their rent. Or if they took the job, they couldn't pay for the rent and childcare. And so there was a huge discrepancy like that. So I think we need to look at housing and we have to look at childcare. We have people wanting to do the jobs. They had a lot of applicants. They just couldn't continue to work the job and pay the rent. They tried to go other places to fill the positions. I think that's a critical thing for us in the state legislature to look at and to resolve for a better tomorrow.
And Nathan?
Can you repeat the question, please?
It has to do with worker shortages and labor force issues. What thoughts do you have to help employers?
Well, I think that I know there are some people that we're in a society, everybody wants to start at the top, and you can't start at the top. You have to start down here and work your way up. So we need people that want to go to work, and sometimes you don't start off at a $100,000 a year job. You got to start at McDonald's or wherever. So if you're looking for a job, if you're looking for money and you don't have a job, go get a job. I do know that our expenses are going up, and you know our pay isn't keeping up with that. So we have to look at how things are being, how much that something costs, obviously. So, but we also can't live beyond our means. You know, we're a society that just likes to have fun and go play, and we need to save more, and not just buy Nikes and PlayStations if we need, you know, food and bedding.
And those 20 minutes went by very quickly. So we're a little bit past time, but we have the very last question for a minute. Why are you the best candidate for the office of state senator? For your last minute, is there something else you want to tell your constituents about yourself or your viewpoints that have not yet been said? And Nathan starts.
I just want to work for the people. I want to listen to you. I want you to come to me and tell you what you need. I think there's some pretty big issues that are going on that, you know, I have morals and I'm going to stand by my morals. But there are things we need to work together on. Like I said, I've already been working in my community. I brought a group together to people in the Little Falls area, and with that, it's already spread. People have come to me from even outside the district asking for help and what to do. And if I can't help you, I put you in contact with someone who can. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work for you. I'm going to be your voice. And I want to do what's right for the people. I don't care about being a politician. I'm running, like I said, I'm running on term limits. I don't care about power and money. I want to get down there and get the job done. And the way we're going right now, our country's falling apart. If you can't see that, I guess you're not paying attention. We need change. We need new leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. And Suzanne, for a minute.
Thank you so much, Gloria, and thank you all who came here tonight to hear us, especially everyone who took the time to ask those important questions. It is vital that our next senator has a plan to rebuild our communities and bring jobs and opportunities back to central Minnesota. And tonight you heard us put out our perspectives. The truth is, fear and partisanship are easy. If they weren't, we wouldn't see so many politicians choose to take that route. And we wouldn't see our state legislature paralyzed by the partisan gridlock year after year. But these things make us all small. They fracture our families and our communities, and they make us fear our neighbors, and all just to keep us from realizing that there is much more that we have in common than that drives us apart. It's a harder path. If we have the courage to take it, it is the hope for something better. Harder because hope isn't just a gift. It carries responsibility and a risk. If you believe, as I do, that the people of Central Minnesota...
Thank you, Susan. Thank you.
Welcome.
Can we give them a round of applause?